My name's Eric Shield. I'm the junior coach at Cambois Rowing Club.
Tell us a little bit about the history of the club and how it got started.
Yeah, the club started in actually in the village of Cambois. Now, as you can see, it's at Stakeford. It was funded and started by the miners of Cambois Pit. It started in 1911 on the River Wansbeck and moved from the Wansbeck to the River Blythe for whatever reasons at the time. I'm afraid I can't help you there. When it was on the River Blythe, it changed sites about 3 times due to various instances of commerce on the river. We were on a site that needed for something else, and we moved. And eventually, in about 1980 something, we came back to the River Wansbeck. We were asked to do this by, at the time, Wansbeck Council, who had just built the Riverside Park, or just had the Riverside Park weir constructed, and they wanted to see sporting activities on the river, and rowing was one of the ones they wanted to attract. Members, we have probably at the moment about 30 all told. The ages range from probably 13, 14 to nearly 80. Unfortunately, there's a big gap in the middle. It's the middle age groups we don't attract due to universities and work commitments and things like that. So we have a lot of juniors and we have some older members.
Most people, when they think of rowing, their knowledge is probably limited to the boat race.
Yeah.
How do you compare to that sort of level?
Well, we do. It depends on the individuals. Most of the juniors we get are very competitive, and they compete in events all over the country, basically, culminating in the national championships at Nottingham in June, or the beginning of July, actually, the end of June, beginning of July. That's the national championships, where we've been, for a small club, we've been quite successful over the last few years. We've had gold, silver, bronze medals, which, as I say, for a small club is quite exceptional.
I believe in the past that you've had some members who've gone on to sort of Great Britain's success.
We have. We've had several people who have moved on to row for Great Britain. We had a girl this year who completed all the GB trials. She was in the training squads. Unfortunately, the virus has put an end to her junior career, which is a bit disappointing. But she's going on to university. She'll then carry on with her GB aspirations, hopefully, when she goes to university.
Now, you mentioned there COVID. Can you tell us a little bit about how that has affected the club?
Yeah, this season obviously has been a bit of a washout competitively. We stopped training on the water in the end of March, and we started again in June, beginning of June, and it's steadily built up from there. We are getting excuse me, more and more restrictions lifted as it goes on, because we are governed by a body called British Rowing, who look after the interests of all the rowing clubs and people in the country, and they give us advice on what we can and can't do through the crisis. At the moment, things are looking a lot brighter than they were 3 or 4 months ago. Unfortunately, this year we haven't been able to do any learn to row courses, which is how we keep our membership going from year to year.
I believe that you were going to have a recruiting event just immediately before all this started.
Yeah, we normally have one at Easter. We have a couple during the school holidays, and that's where we get our new recruits for each year.
And you haven't been able to have that yet. Do you think there might be a possibility that you can have it later in the year?
We'll be looking to, not this year, no. Unfortunately, the weather conditions go against learning to row. You need reasonably calm, stable conditions, and that's not always guaranteed. So it'll probably be Easter before we do another learn to row. But if people want to come and learn, want to come and give it a try, we are always open
So what should they do? Should they just turn up at a session? Or?
No, we've got a web page, Cambois Rowing Club. Go on there and get in contact with the secretary, who will get in touch with you again and make some arrangements if you want to do something. So we aren't closed. We certainly aren't closed. It's a good social sport because you get to know people from other clubs and other areas, and you become quite friendly with them actually because of the nature of the sport. The sport's a no contact sport, so you aren't trying to knock them out, you're not trying to kick bits out of them. You actually get on quite well with most of the people you compete against, because you realise how much work, if they beat you, you realise how much work they've had to put in to do that, because you know how hard you train. It is very competitive, but it's competitive in a really nice way.
So while you were off the water all those months, what did you get people to do?
Well, when it first happened, we obviously weren't prepared for it, we weren't expecting it. But what we did was we let the people who wanted to take some of our equipment home with them, some of the rowing machines, the ergos, and some of the weights, took home. I gave them a program to do, and then we found Zoom, and we started doing Zoom sessions, which were very good, very popular, which meant they weren't training on their own basically. They were trained, they had people to train, even though they weren't in the room, they had people to train with, and they could see what other people were doing, and they could have a chat, which was the big thing. They could talk to each other. And then, excuse me, we started in June. We were allowed to go back on the water in singles, and then the boats we've been allowed to use bigger boats now, so we're now virtually back to normal as far as river training goes.
Hi, I'm Becca Bradley.
Hi, I'm Ellen Fennick.
And we both work for Cambois Rowing Club.
And we're members of King Edward VI Club.
Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the sport of rowing.
Through friends, I think, from school. I heard about it and then signed up. That's pretty much how I
There were some
got into
flyers out online, and my auntie signed me up, and there was a waiting list, and then I got straight up on the Learn to Row.
And did you find it difficult to start with?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, the technique to pick up, but
once you've got it,
yeah,
it's because it's just like one movement that you repeat. So once you
Yeah.
can do the basics, you've got it pretty much.
Did you find it very strenuous or exhausting?
to begin with, because it's muscle groups that you're not used to using all the time. So for the first couple of weeks after you've done a couple of sessions, you do ache for a while.
Like my level of fitness was so low before I started, so I was not prepared for like the intensity of it. But like it definitely got easier as time went on.
And I imagine that you've probably taken part in other sports before you did this.
Yeah.
How does it compare to whatever else you've done?
It's just completely different because there's so many different aspects to it.
Yeah, you
For like
can't
weight
really...
training, ergs, the water sessions, like there's so much involved in it.
You can't really compare it to... I played rugby beforehand, and I can't really... It's completely different in all aspects. The friendships you make, the training you do, it's completely different.
So how long have you both been doing it now?
3 years, 4 years?
4.5 years.
3 years for me, I think.
There was never a point where you thought, no, it's too much for me.
No.
Well, there's been a few times. Some of the erg sessions you do is quite testing, and you think, God, why do I do this?
But then afterwards, I think it's like the sense of
rewarding.
like achievement you get afterwards. It's like nice, like racing. It's all worth it when you like go to a race and like get the adrenaline.
Yeah, and you see all your friends and stuff.
And what was it like being off the water for 3 months?
It wasn't the most exciting time, but we like tried to maintain fitness and did Zoom calls. Like we worked around it quite well. Like did independent training. Like,
and I'm on the committee as a junior representative, so we were the whole time doing Zoom calls to arrange when we could get back on the water.
As much as we could, we tried to like keep training.
And what would you say to anybody who was thinking of taking it up but was perhaps a bit doubtful?
obviously
do
just do it. Yeah,
Honestly, we
the
need,
friendships as well. Like
you've really strong bonds with everyone here. Everyone gets on so well. Like it might,
even within the northeast, it's kind of other clubs and like.
Honestly, just do it. It really is good, and you get really fit from doing it as well.
Yeah.
So you see yourselves keeping up with this until perhaps till you go to uni, or?
Yeah, hopefully. I would like to do it at uni. Definitely, I want to carry on.